want to now segue into Obi-Wan has a release date now. I know Element talked about it on his show Saturday. It was rumored to be, or I think the Hollywood Reporter said they heard it was May,
It
and
was in May, yeah.
yeah, they were speculating June, July. It was a lot of different. It was a summertime show, but we'll start with Derek. Do you get a chance to see the poster?
No, I saw the date it was coming out.
Go look at my Instagram.
I
Or,
just, I literally like my dad had walked in the door, and it was like this 10 seconds after he walked in, the release got put out, and I literally started freaking out. I was so excited, and the poster looks so badass. It's so simple yet
oh,
so
that looks so
effective.
fire. That looks so fire.
Like the
It's
thing
so
You know
good.
whose lightsaber he's holding too? It looks like.
it looks like potentially his or Anakin's.
I think it might be. It looks weird, but it's like a
Yeah,
actual picture of. Looks so weird seeing Ewan play like older Obi. Like it's
I
just like
know.
something we've been
Yeah.
wanted.
It's so weird because it's like the show takes place, what they say, 10 years after Revenge of the Sith,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
about roughly where Star Wars Rebels is. So it's weird to think that if like what Rebel season 3 takes place, what, like 2 years after season 1, so that would roughly put Kenobi during season 1 of Rebels.
No, I think Kenobi is. I think 5 years before Rebels. I think it's. I think Rebels is
Yeah.
only. Yeah, I think Rebels is like
Oh no, I'm
starts.
sorry, I'm thinking about Solo for some reason. Sorry,
Okay.
still hooked on Kira.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just like it's weird to think that the Obi-Wan we're gonna see in a few years is gonna look like how he does in Rebels, which in turn is gonna make him look like Alec Guinness. So I hope we get to see the
That's why you need those
transition.
black robes.
Right.
Yes, the black robes.
Well, I think
Yes.
it's. Ewan talked about it in behind the scenes on Revenge of the Sith. He's like, I need to. At that point, he talked about I need my performance to mirror Alec Guinness. I need to be as close as I can to Alec Guinness, and I'm really curious to see how close he is to the Alec Guinness while also maintaining the Ewan McGregor because he's fantastic as Obi Wan. But I am, we'll say we've talked about this, Alex. And I want to hear our guest thoughts. The show has me worried because narratively there was really only one path and one path that's been presented: the fight with Vader. Um, I mean, is there gonna be 6 episodes of them like lollygagging around, or like you're gonna have to do some character study of Obi Wan, and I'm looking forward to that. He's obviously gonna have like severe PTSD, Clone Wars flashbacks. I'm looking forward to. We already saw one in Book of Boba Fett. The clones look great, and they're using the volume for Kenobi, so I can't wait to see what it looks like. Um, but I'm really curious. I really think what they could do is like what they did with Boba. They could have a whole Vader centric episode, like Vader like getting closer to Obi Wan. I think that's a missing point is that people like, oh, I want a Vader movie. Well, this is it. You're gonna get a lot of Vader here because this is just as much Vader's story. So, start with Element. What do you think of? First off, do you like the release date and do you think anything comes before it? Because the Bad Batch was rumored for the spring too. So I don't know how this is gonna. I don't know how it's all gonna fit in a year. If they want to do Andor and Mando, so I don't know. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think? This is kind of a cluster of a schedule here, but let's just hear your thoughts.
Um. Well, I mean, I would. No one's going to tell you. That the date can't be sooner. Like I would like it sooner, but it's good to have a date. So I think that May 4th is going to be when the full trailer drops. Because they can't have nothing for that date. And I don't know. Like the schedule seems it seems to be with all of the rap schedule that they had with Mando season 3, Ahsoka, Andor all wrapping relatively like following each other. That they're aiming to have a schedule where at some point for Star Wars fans, there's like 1 week of lull, and then the next show comes on.
Hmm.
And it's really hard to be on a streaming platform and not like cable TV, and have a schedule where all of your shows kind of line up one after the other and there's something to watch for 12 months, because they want people to keep their subscriptions throughout the year. They don't want people to sign up for Book of Boba Fett and then cancel their subscription until, Kenobi comes out, and then cancel their subscription until Andor. So it looks like a cluster of a schedule, but I think what they're trying to do is kind of slowly shrink the gap between shows so that people stay and people keep subscribed into the next show. As far as Kenobi, I think they're largely going to explore his journals. What happens in the comics, and there's going to be newer comics coming out as well. So it's just going to be like the day to day with Kenobi, and kind of coming to terms with no longer being a Jedi, but also the timing matches. 10 years after Order 66 also lines up with the Skywalker book that details when Qui-Gon appeared to Obi-Wan, which was 10 years after Order 66. So we are going to get Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. And so it's largely going to be him dealing with life on Tatooine, isolation, training to be a Force ghost, and then I hope, because he talks a lot about having to, inhabit that Guinness part of Obi-Wan. I hope that he maintains, like you said, the Ewan part, because I definitely want to see some flashbacks of him and Anakin in Clone Wars armor, like an episode of Clone Wars that we've seen in animation with Hayden and Ewan.
Well, the thing that excites me about this show is Hayden coming back, and I'm on the Star Wars stuff Twitter, and they released a snippet of an interview with Ewan, and now I'm even more excited because of what he says about him and Hayden in the show. If you want me to go ahead and read it off.
Yeah, read it off. Yeah.
So he says, I think it's no secret that Hayden Christensen comes back, and we got to play scenes together again as Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker, and it was just fantastic to work with him again. So I think it's almost he basically confirmed it. We're going to get flashbacks of Clone Wars versions of them.
It's so crazy to think. It's so crazy to think that. And Alex, you and I, when Revenge of the Sith came out, were only
2 years old.
I was only
1 year
3.
old.
Yeah, Derek, you were only 3 or 4.
Yeah.
So it's just so weird to think that I get to actually see them like on screen together, like, and experience it with everyone. And Anakin means a lot to me. He's always been my favorite character. So like,
The goat.
seeing him again is, Alex, you're laughing. Were you gonna make a joke or something?
No, sorry.
No, it's good. It's good.
Twitter. Sorry, Twitter just. That was a bad joke from Twitter. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. It's a lot of those, but also Hayden in the Vader suit is really interesting, because you don't just put him in the suit without doing some, showing his face a little bit. I'm curious. I'm curious if like they try to do something where he just has a breathing apparatus, but he doesn't have like
a
you can
Malgus?
still see his
Darth
yeah.
Maul? That'll be fine.
Yeah, because like I feel like that would mean that would make the confrontation more meaningful. If, like we saw or they do something like they did with Tony Stark and Marvel, where you see his face as he's fighting. Like, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Especially at this point, like going off of Rebels, when Ahsoka slashes his helmet, you can still basically see Anakin's face. We don't get to see all of it. And I know it's a very animated version. Of course, if we're going off how he looked at the end of the Revenge of the Sith, he looked like a burnt pizza. So I don't know.
That Return of the Jedi, Jesus, man. Well,
that man went from like burned red to like pale white.
Yeah.
So it's
the
like
albino sourdough.
Yes. So I think I'm sorry. I need to get this picture off Twitter from my screen. I keep looking over at it, but I think I think that I would like to see kind of like that Tony Stark thing of him inside, inside the helmet point of view, especially when we get to that fight with Obi-Wan and Anakin. Like, let's say we get to a thing where like Vader's like swinging on him and whatnot. The only thing that I don't like about that whole fight thing, because I know a lot of people didn't like the, oh well, it contradicts what was said in A New Hope. It's like it kind of didn't, you know. But now, because Drew and I have been rewatching Rebel season one, there's this thing about, oh, if Obi-Wan lives, where it's just like, well, um, I'm trying to think because if Kenobi takes place before Rebels, he already knows he's alive. So why would you tell Palpatine that? I would
Well,
assume
they could do
Palpatine would
something.
know of something.
They could do something where I don't know, like they both fall off a ledge, and they both don't know if they live. They both think that they're dead, and they can't sense each other. Something like that.
Anyways,
I feel like
Has the details
Deborah.
of their rematch been confirmed?
yeah, it was in
Well,
the.
no, but like he specifically talked about how is it going to go down because they could pull like a it's just a dream. Like it could be
Oh
it's
no,
just a
bro.
dream fight.
That's how I rationalize it. In Vader
Yeah.
2017, when he's bleeding the crystal,
Mhm.
his crystal that he gets from Kirik, he has a vision that he fights Obi-Wan again, and then he also like apologizes to Obi-Wan. It's a weird dream sequence, but
And think
it could
about
be
this
anything.
too, Alex. When we see the concept art, it's like a red fiery planet.
Oh yeah, it's. I think
So,
it's gonna be a reimagining of like we saw Vader's perspective of the reimagining of the fight. I think it's gonna be Obi-Wan seeing his reimagining of the fight,
but you
which
still think they fight during
I
this
don't,
time, like in person again?
no, I don't. It's one of those things that is just like I feel like
I think they do, and
I think I think they're gonna go the route that they actually fight, but I like the idea that they imagine a rematch. Because to me, what this is like, could you imagine if like Vader's even more driven to find Obi-Wan because he keeps imagining this rematch with him, and then it turns out we get the New Hope rematch where they're just kind of like poking at each other, um, two old
which I
people
still
poking
think
at each
is
other.
I think people overhate on that fight.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
it's a supposed to be a symbolic. I mean, it's a symbol. I
yeah,
think the symbolic nature of it is what I
yeah.
love.
I think my
Uh,
favorite part about that fight is just like there Obi-Wan knows he's not going to win. He knows there's no winning it. He's old man. Vader's in his prime condition of the dark side right now. Or I wouldn't say prime. I'd say he's definitely his prime years before. But still, comparatively, he's in more of his prime than Obi-Wan. But it's just like I love the New Hope fight. I hate how much hate it gets.
yeah.
Yeah.
Poor fight because it is such a good fight. I love the dialogue. It's one of my favorite scenes of dialogue with people.
It like you were saying, it is left vague what they say in A New Hope. When I left
Yeah.
you, I was but the learner. Now I am the
Yeah, because
master. Like,
again, it's like when people talk about it nowadays, it's like, well, Vader didn't leave Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan definitely left him dead at the very bottom of a pit next to fire. So
right,
it's like,
bro.
what do you mean by when I left you?
right.
So I don't know. I could either see it going, this rematch happens and Vader wins, and he leaves him, but I'm not entirely sure. Hold on one second.
Derek, thoughts? But you think you're gonna
Honestly,
get a
like
rematch?
I agree with like everything that y'all said, but there's like one thing I want to see. Like I noticed that it was in Tatooine, and I hope that we get like the live action fight between him and Darth Maul. Like I feel like that'd be too much with all the Darth Vader stuff going on and Anakin, but it'd be so cool to see the live action fight between him and Darth Maul, like their final duel with each other. That'd be really cool to see.
I
The
think it would
timing
be
doesn't
too.
line up. It could be a sizzle at the very end.
Post
Yeah.
credits. Post credits.
I
Yeah.
well, the problem is like, well, with the whole Ray Park thing, I posted some no pictures a couple years back, and I don't know if
They
I
could get
heard
someone else to do it.
I heard they could, but I don't. I just don't feel like it. It would feel weird. I mean, like a sizzle at the end would be cool. Just like, oh, thank you to the fans. Here's something really nice. But I don't think it's gonna happen. But I just think, from a fandom perspective, if it was a dream sequence, um, people wouldn't be too happy.
Yeah.
Even with the execution. So I don't think they're gonna go that route. But it's weird because this show was announced and Andor was announced before Mandalorian was even announced. And it fired like I don't know if you know this, Alex. They fired everyone. They fired the original screenwriter, and then COVID happened, and then they reworked it, and so it was a totally
Yeah.
like it was a totally different show. Like
I
Hayden
know.
wouldn't be in it. It
Yeah,
would
I
be
know.
like
It's
it could be a
crazy
weird
because
thing. And this is rumor. I'm not. It's
yeah,
not fact,
yeah,
but this is. I mean, but I do think that Hayden wasn't going to be in it, and we're not even talking about the Inquisitors, the Grand
yeah,
Inquisitor.
Yeah.
yeah. It's weird because like
No
I
helicopter
really,
lightsaber.
I
I don't.
really
I don't need to see that.
no live action
It's gonna be
helicopters.
there.
But I know it is, but it's like I would honestly start laughing because like Rebels is my favorite show. So
Just
it's like
close your eyes.
I know.
Yeah, yeah.
Kids, close your eyes. We don't.
I mean, I
we need to
jokingly
leave.
say I don't mind it, but like
Yeah,
it would be
funny.
funny to see it live action. It would
They're
look,
funny, but I think my thing is like because on this Star Wars stuff, they're very reliable with their
oh yeah,
leaks
they
and
post
whatnot.
good people. Yeah, they post good
And
people.
so it's like they have Rupert Friend playing the Grand Inquisitor, but it's like I don't want you to play the Grand Inquisitor because he's such a good character in season 1, and I feel like if you add him losing to another Jedi on top of Kanan, it's just like, well, you know what? What's so grand about him?
He loses to Luke too.
He loses to
Yeah.
Luke too. Like he loses to everyone. It's like I I just really hope like bring in literally any other Inquisitor. Any other Inquisitor. Like bring in the ninth sister, bring in the fifth brother, bring in the second sister, bring in literally anyone else but him. Because I feel like when you start adding in, oh, you lose to Luke, and you lose to Kanan, and you lose to Obi-Wan. Well, it's just like, well, at least the other Inquisitors at points were able to best people like Ezra and Kanan. So, yeah.
I think there's a chance that he's in the show and he doesn't face
Yeah.
Obi-Wan. Like
He's
the
just an
looming presence that's
instructor.
there.
Yeah.
But it's just like at that point, like, why have him? Because like if he's not fighting someone, why be there?
He's the Grand Inquisitor, right? So he's like,
Yeah.
he's probably giving orders to like
Oh,
the
yeah.
other Inquisitors, and then they go off to face him, and then they lose. Because there's a lot of lost Inquisitors. There's a lot of ones that are unnumbered, that are out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
there is a lot of them.
There is. I'm gonna assume there's at least 10 brothers, 10 sisters